an immigrant's level to the West, because it boggles my mind how anyone in this country takes him seriously. This is a guy who honeymooned in the Soviet Union, where he would have had exactly the same experience as every other Westerner coming to the Soviet Union. They would have been taken to some fake wedding where fake KGB agents were having a fake wedding, and then they would be taken on some kind of trip. Every movement would be controlled. And these are the people who came back from the Soviet Union. I can't remember if it was, I don't want to slander dead people, but I can't remember who it was. One of these darlings of the left came back from the Soviet Union in 1938 as millions of my ancestors, my countrymen and women were starving, and said, I've never eaten as well as I did.
To the Oxford Union speech that you mentioned, because this thing, how many views did this thing get?
It's hard to say, probably somewhere between 100 and 200 million views.
Yeah,
across different platforms. Yeah.
Ooh, lordy. All right, let's go.
And the only thing that wokeness has to offer in exchange is to brainwash bright young minds like you to believe that you are victims, to believe that you have no agency, to believe that what you must do to improve the world is to complain, is to protest, is to throw soup on paintings. And we on this side of the house are not on this side of the house because we do not wish to improve the world. We sit on this side of the house because we know that the way to improve the world is to work, is to create, it is to build. And the problem with woke culture is that it's trained too many young minds like yours to forget about that. Thank you very much.
The brainwashing element is pretty interesting of this, that's hard to get people out of. They feel like they have this kind of holistic worldview, and that somehow everyone before them was an idiot or a moron. That's the one I can't get over.
Yeah, to be honest, I think young people always think that about other generations. That thing about when I was 20, my dad was an idiot, and by the time I got 40, he really wisened up.
Yeah.
Like, I think we all experience that at some level. So my issue is that, look, culture is the brainwashing of young people. That's what culture is. It's a passing down of certain values and beliefs about what it is to be human and how we ought to conduct ourselves, right? That's why you have an education system. That's why you have cultural content. That's why we teach children certain values. We are, quote unquote, brainwashing them. My issue is that I've never understood this. As a first generation immigrant, I sort of, people want to tell me that I'm a victim, and I've never understood. And it doesn't really matter if it's true or not. What matters is it useful?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my issue with all of this stuff. It's like, why are you teaching children things that will make them fail? Why are you teaching children things that will make them hurt, things that will make them anxious, things that will make them depressed? Why are you not teaching them, look, you believe in climate change, go for it, right? Go and fix a problem to do with that issue. Go and learn and study for years and work hard. And you know what, Melissa Chen, I don't know, you
I know her well. She's a good friend.
A wonderful person. I love Melissa.
Folks, Konstantin is so right. Is that why are you teaching children like critical race theory, climate change, what I call the Church of Climatology, transgenderism, the Church of Transgenderism? Why are you teaching children, all sorts of things that could, confuse them in terms of what's happening with their identity, with their gender? Why are you sexualizing children? Why are you trying to take the place of the parents? Why are you trying to teach the children different forms of culture? It's not your job. That's not your job, as Konstantin says. And I say this all the time. It is not the job of the state to raise my child. It is not the job of the government to raise my child. They may be going to a government school, but that's where government ends. Their primary job is to teach children the basics, to read, to write, history, science, technology. That's what they're supposed to, mathematics. They're there to educate, not to indoctrinate. You want to teach health? Perfectly fine. You want to teach sex? No. You want to sexualize children at an early age? Absolutely not. You want to talk about climate change? Okay, fine. Talk about climate change. But guess what? Bring both sides. And don't hide any of the facts. Don't obscure anything. But that's the problem. Nobody can just do that. Nobody can just basically stay on, ride the fence. They want to be on one side of the fence. And not only do they want to be on one side of the fence, they want to be on the complete opposite side of the fence. And then from that side, they don't want to talk to anybody on the other side. And so when you have impressionable young minds like children, why is it that you need someone from the state to tell my children what they need to know culturally, religiously, morally? Those are my values that I instill. Now, there are certain things about good community, good character, those kind of things we can talk. Good manners. You teach them at home. You solidify them in school. Obviously, those kind of things. But what Konstantin is talking about here is that, like he said, students go there, become woke idiots. Complain. Woe is me. I'm a victim. It's tough now. It's hard now. It wasn't this hard before. There's so many distractions. This victim mentality, instead of victor mentality, they're teaching them a victimology, victim mentality to our kids. And many of them, these snowflakes that are out there, how are they going to be able to compete in a world with other people coming from China, people coming from Russia, people coming from the Mideast, people coming from Asia? How are they going to compete if all you're ever doing basically is tell them that they're victims of everything and that everything that they need, there's oppressors, there's oppressed, there's other people with privilege, you don't have privilege. All these things are happening. Kids take that in. And some kids, many kids, are going to basically say, you know what? Is that my lot in life? That's pretty much it. That's what I was taught. Anyways, folks, let's continue with the interview. You're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir, where I give my political prescription from my political perspective. What happens when you have people like Konstantin Kisin being interviewed, talking about social media, culture, religion, school, children, minorities, science, religion, and they all come clashing together. Let's get back to more of the interview right now.
A long time ago, she said, you can't remain woke if you build something, whether that's muscle, a business, or anything. And that's why I would challenge those young people, very bright young people at Oxford. They're the future. Mm-hmm. Whether you like it or not, they are going to be the people running our countries, right? I challenge them to recognize that if you care about whatever issue it is, you got to fix it. You can't just sit and mope.
True. Were you shocked how many students at Oxford are buying that stuff? Because when I spoke there, it was a lovely talk and I did my thing, and then there was some Q&A and I was getting some pushback on stuff, but I didn't feel it had fully sort of proliferated throughout. But I get the sense that it's deeper now. That was probably 5 years ago when I was on tour.
Yeah, it's hard to say because you see 400 people or 500 people who came to see the debate. So what the mix of it is, it's hard to say. I did, the thing that really I found very reassuring is I had a few people. People won't know this, but the debate started like 3 hours later than it should have done. So we ended up sitting in the pub waiting. Mm-hmm. And there was this girl who came up to me and she could not believe. She said, so you think there are woke people in the UK? And I went, yeah. And she went, so you think there are woke people in the media? Oh, yeah. And she was like, so give me an example. And I give her an example. And we went round and round for an hour. Yeah. Anyway, after the debate...
You're going, lady, I got a big talk to you.
After the debate, she comes over to me and asks for a selfie. So, we gotta be willing to try to change people's minds. And I have hope for young people because I was young and stupid and probably am still to some extent both those things. And people are persuadable. And you persuaded me. Your guest persuaded me. And I believe that we can persuade others.
What about the people that are pushing it sort of, I don't want to say blindly, but did you see a clip about a month and a half ago on Real Time with Bill Maher where he asked Bernie Sanders, if he knew the difference between equity and equality. Did you happen to see the
I
clip?
didn't see that one, no.
So it's a really incredibly enlightening moment. Do you know the difference between equity and inequality? I mean, it's basically saying to him, do you know the difference between socialism and capitalism, in essence? And Bernie fumbles, and then basically says, I don't know. And Bill explains it to him, and it's like, well, wait a minute. You've been the prime mover of these ideas from a economic perspective, at least. I don't think he realized how it was going to become racialized and sexualized and everything else.
That's because Bernie Sanders, his initials BS stand for bullshit. He's Bernie Bullshit Sanders. And he doesn't know. That just goes to show you, it's what I tell people all the time, is that if you say what's right in here in your heart, don't need any piece of paper to read off of a script. Tell me what to say. I mean, sometimes you prepare some notes, some form notes if you're going to give a talk of some kind. But did you ever hear, like Rush Limbaugh said, some of his best talks were when they were like off the cuff. He had prepared notes, but he just goes off the notes, and then you're speaking from your heart. And I would rather be intellectually, I would rather be in an intellectual format where my interlocutor or the opponent that you're debating or the opponent that you're discussing something with, his ideological framework is completely diametric to what I believe in. But if he believes in that to his absolute core, I would much rather say that's intellectually being honest than the intellectual dishonesty that is shown by politicians of the Bernie BS Sanders ilk. Because Bernie Sanders is no more, socialist. I'm a socialist Democrat. I'm a democratic socialist. And the linguistic lingo of the left just eats that up. It's like clam chowder. You're putting your bread in, just soaking all that up and taking a big old bite out of that. Boy, does that taste good. Except when the fact you realize that the clams that they were used to cook were from last year. And then you know what happens after that. And that's exactly the verbal diarrhea that emanates from people like Bernie B.S. Sanders.
But it was clear to me that he just didn't even know what he was talking about.
That
No, he
surprise
doesn't
me.
know.
I mentioned Bernie in An Immigrant's Love Letter to the West because it boggles my mind how anyone in this country takes him seriously. This is a guy who honeymooned in the Soviet Union, where he would have had exactly the same experience as every other Westerner coming to the Soviet Union. They would have been taken to some fake wedding where fake KGB agents were having a fake wedding, and then they would be taken on some kind of trip. Every movement would be controlled. And these are the people who came back from the Soviet Union. I can't remember if it was, I don't want to slander dead people, but I can't remember if it was somebody, one of these darlings of the left came back from the Soviet Union in 1938 as millions of my ancestors, my countrymen and women were starving and said, I've never eaten as well as I did in the Soviet Union. These gullible clowns in the West who have never experienced socialism, have never experienced communism, who sell simple but false ideas to people, they don't deserve to be taken seriously. They don't. And they don't offer any solutions.
None
the solutions
at all.
that
None
they offer
at
will
all.
be counterproductive and hurt people in this country and around the world. It boggles my mind that people don't understand that, but they don't.
If you're looking for more...
Wow, just a great interview. Why is it that these immigrants, first generation immigrants, that come to the West, they must look at the people in the Western democracies, in the United States of America, in the United Kingdom, Great Britain, other countries, and just look at them perplexed, totally befuddled, to say, you want what? You want communism? You want socialism? You want Marxism? You want that? You want to get rid of capitalism? You want equal outcomes? boggles the mind. And you hear this from so many wonderful immigrants that come. And the reason that they left their countries is escape that crap, escape totalitarianism, escape authoritism, escape all of that. That's what they're here. That's why they come to the Western democracies. That's why they come, as, by any means necessary. That's what they're trying to do, folks. Escape tyranny. Escape not having the freedom to pursue what it is that they want to pursue. And then they come over here and they see people that are wanting to do exactly what they left from. And they're just like, wow, what the hell is going on here? Are you, am I being pranked? Am I being punked? Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. Take a look at our video links above and below. Share your thoughts. Let us know what you thought of Konstantin. My final thought, as always, when you're right, you're right. When you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.